right. Hello, and thank you everyone for joining the Alignable Microsoft Productivity Power Hour. This is a new Power Hour that's going to be starting this month, and it will be every first Tuesday of the month at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. So we're going to jump right in, just to give you some objectives of this group so that you understand why we're meeting. This group has been organized so that we can discuss productivity and efficiency through Microsoft's platform, Microsoft 365 or Office 365. So we're going to cover things like the platform in general, the components within it, like OneDrive for Business, SharePoint, Microsoft Teams, Microsoft Office, and some related technology that you can use in it, such as Power Apps, Power Automate, Microsoft Forms, and more. Our perspectives will be from the end user and business user. So we'll be doing a lot of presentations and demos with Q&A around you as an end user or you as a business user using this platform. But we'll also have some sessions for those who are citizens developers or would like to become a citizen developer and show you how you can develop different things using the Power Platform suite. This is an interactive session, and it will be monthly. We'll have demo and Q&A. If you have questions, please make sure you're using the chat window as soon as you have questions so that we can make sure that those are addressed. My co-hosts will be answering those questions in the window, and I'll also be trying to monitor as I'm going along to address some of these questions. We'll have topics every month, but you'll also be able to give us your own topics as requests so that we know what things are important for you to hear, and we can move forward. So to introduce myself, I'm your speaker today. My name is Nakia Carter. I'm co-CEO of NTC Tech based out of Washington State. We are Microsoft partners that primarily focus on this technology of Microsoft and Office 365, building solutions, giving you that valuable information through consulting and strategizing. We also do training around the platform as well as on some other things. And then my co-host, Harry Carter, co-CEO of NTC Tech, also with me, again, will be answering questions in the chat window. I would love it if you could have your cameras on. It's not mandatory, but I've been an instructor for a while, and I know how sometimes you may not know about a question that might be formulating, or I like to also see your face to understand how you're feeling about what's going on and what I'm talking about. So please, if you would like to show your face, I would love to see it so that I can see what your expression is. If not, and if so, you can still enter your questions in the chat window so that we don't miss any of your questions. Okay. So the topics for this month. So here's our agenda for today's meeting for this month. We're going to go over Microsoft Office 365 from a high level. We're going to look at its background, licensing. We're also going to look live at this homepage, and I'll give you some details about the homepage. Then we'll do some more overviews for Exchange, OneDrive for Business, Microsoft Teams, and SharePoint, some of the main components within Office 365 suite. We'll look at the mobile apps and the special limitations. I'll give you a word about browsers. We'll do a bit of comparison between Office and Office 365, as well as OneDrive for Business and OneDrive Personal, because people get that confused a lot. We have our recommendations, and you'll be able to get access to these slides. There'll be a QR code at the end of this presentation where you can get access to these slides and get our useful resources that are included in this deck. There's a QR code on this slide for you to be able to tell us what topics you would like us to discuss next month. So I want to point that out right now. But the overall goals for why we're here. This is to give you an overview of Office 365 or Microsoft 365 because they have those two names. This session will help you to understand the tools that help you become more efficient, become more productive, get your work done a lot faster and a lot easier. gives you a better understanding of the suite and what could be available to you depending on your license structure. And there will be more sessions monthly. So again, if you have topics that you would like to bring up around the Microsoft suite or related technology, please use the QR code and answer a short form, and let us know what you would like to hear. Okay, so before we get into the meat or the crux of this whole session, I always have to give a cloud disclaimer because we're working with Microsoft technology, but not just Microsoft technology, it's cloud technology. Microsoft and cloud technology in general continually updates their cloud technology. So it's constantly being updated any time of day, day or night, weekends, all of that. So sometimes our slides that you may get may be different than what you see on your screen because they may have changed something. Also, while I'm going through the presentation, if I fumble a bit because they moved a button, please excuse any of that as well. But that's kind of typical for a cloud system. It's great for constant improvement, but things can move. All right. So now let's get into Office 365 and let's look at Office 365 from a high level and what you get there. Office 365, also called Microsoft 365, depending on what license that you get, is a platform that's subscription-based. You only need at least one person to start the subscription, but you can have multiple people in the subscription. It has the ability to be free or super low cost for 501c3s and educational institutions. It's accessible and secure from anywhere as long as you have, your device and a secure network connection to the internet. It can meet many compliance standards like FedRAMP and FISMA and NIST and HIPAA. But it does need configuration for that. It doesn't come out of the box with that already set. A lot of the security controls are already set, but the compliance standards, if you have those, they need to be configured. And as I said, you can have a subscription where you're mixing and matching different licenses. So one person can have one license that gives them access to certain things. Another person can have other licenses that gives them access to other things, all in the same tenant. And this can help you save money in being able to get the license that fits that person best without spending more money on things that they don't need. So where can you get Office 365? There's business plans, there's enterprise plans, there's plans for your frontline worker, education, nonprofit, and government plans. So the business and enterprise plans, usually the difference between a business and an enterprise plan, one, business plans come with everything. Enterprise plans don't come with Teams. So if you get an enterprise plan, you have to buy Teams separately unless you already have Office 365 and you already have that plan, then you're grandfathered in. Other than that, the other difference is the number of users. So a business plan, you can have up to 300 licenses for a business plan. Enterprises are unlimited. That plan is unlimited. So you can have multiple enterprise, over 300 licenses of people with enterprise plan, but only up to 300 for your business plans. Frontline worker. This is one that can save you some money as well. So you could so your enterprise plans cost more than your business plans. So it's like enterprise, then business, then your frontline worker for your general business. For you, those of you who are general business folks, not nonprofit, not education, and not government. You would go for one of these or a mix of these three types of plans. So like I said, the business plan costs less than an enterprise plan, but it doesn't have as many things in it as the enterprise plan has. So there's extra capability in the enterprise plan, except for Teams. Then there's frontline worker plans. Now, these are great because they are really low cost. And they give the ability for folks, say that don't need anything but maybe email and the ability to get into the intranet. This plan, some of them are like starting at $4 a seat. You could use that plan for your factory workers, your people that are on the front line, say like at a hospital, or you're in manufacturing. So the people that are working, the factory workers out on the floor. This plan could be great for them because they don't need as many things as the office worker who would need office and things like that. Now, your education, your nonprofit, and your government plans are all discounted depending on if you're an accredited educator or academic institution. You can get a education plan. Some of them are free, and some of the licenses are free. But then there are also super small paid licenses. I think they're like 50% off now, I think. Same thing for nonprofits. So you can get ones that are free and mix them with ones that aren't free, or just use all free licensing, depending on which your institution or your organization needs. If you're government, though, you have to be have a government, .gov type email address, and you won't be the one going to get it unless you are the purchaser, the buyer for your government agency. For the most part, you can go look at those plans and see what they come with and see what the costs are. But if you are to go buy one, you have to be the actual purchaser, because you will have to go through the proof to show that you are a government agency in order to get on the government plans. There's also free developer accounts for those of you who like to kick the tires of Office 365. Maybe you're a citizen developer and you want to try a few things, or a developer and you want to try a few things. You can get a free Microsoft Office 365 developer account using that link. Now, the next two slides I have on the Office 365 or Microsoft 365 homepage in the suite bar. So I'm going to exit out of here and show you it live, but you will have the slides for later use. All right, so I have another screen, so I have to look up to the screen. So apologies for me looking up and down, up and down. You go to office.com. This is how you sign in. You get to a screen that looks like this. Now, I'm already signed in. So when I hit the sign in button, it's just going to sign me straight in. When you hit the sign in button, if you haven't been signed in through the browser, through one of the other browser tabs, I'm signed in another browser tab, then it will ask you for your email address and your password, your username and your password. Your username is your email address. So you put that in along with your password, and then you're able to get into the Office 365 or Microsoft 365 homepage, which is where we're about to go now. So I just hit the sign in, and it will sign me in to, oh, well, maybe it's gonna, okay, should just go through and sign me in. And then we'll hit the homepage. And then I'll show you the different pieces of the homepage. All right. So this is the Office 365 or Microsoft 365, like Microsoft was trying to rebrand the whole thing to be Microsoft 365. The homepage for it. It looks like it hasn't finished coming in though. Okay, here's some more pieces. Okay, hopefully it's all done now. And I'll get into the pieces on this board. So some of the things that you can do here. So up here is the suite bar. And down this side is the left navigation. And then this is the page, which you can see there's different things here for us to be able to see. Let's go down the left navigation really quickly. So this is the home page. On this home page, we can see, the different things I've been working on, some access to some of the quick things, some quick access to some of the things that either I'd been working on personally or somebody else sent to me, or even that the system sent to me. Like I had a meeting earlier with this lady, and there's the recording for that meeting. Here's some of the recommended things that the system thinks I might want to click on because I've been working on them recently or working on them a lot. Or I was in a recent meeting where it was related to it. Like, say, for example, this one right here, related to a recent meeting. So it kind of tries to give you some ideas of some things that you might want to click on. Depending on your license, you may also have the ability to install Microsoft 365 apps. Now, these are basically Office. I hate sometimes that they name things the same thing. It gets a little confusing. But if you look at this right here, it says install Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, Outlook, all of that. So this is going to install Office on your computer. This Office will be an evergreen Office. It'll also be constantly updating with the cloud. If you don't have that as part of your license, you will still have the ability to explore the apps that are available to you and install your M365 mobile apps, which we will talk about in a little bit later in this presentation. On the suite bar, I have the ability to get around using this thing that's called the waffle. Also, it's nicknamed the waffle. It's called the app launcher or the app switcher because basically it allows you to switch between the different online apps that you have as a part of Office 365, like going to my email, going to SharePoint, going to Teams, maybe, starting a new form. So all these things that I have available to me would be showing up here. Some of these things you might not have available, but I have available like Dynamics or customer voice. So it depends on the license that you have for your actual self. You'll see what you have available to you here. Also, because I'm an admin, I have the admin button here to be able to buy new licenses, add users, et cetera, et cetera. Anywhere that I am in Microsoft 365, if I see this link up at the top and I click on it, it will take me back to this page. So if you see that link right now, it's not clickable because we're on the home page. But if you see that link, that's what it's going to take you to. This search bar will allow you to search through different apps as well as allow you to search for different things. Like I have an app for Alignable, but I also have presentations for Alignable. And I could show more search results here. This button up here allows me to send feedback to Microsoft. This can be awesome if you have feedback to give to Microsoft. There's a lot of things that Microsoft could improve on or that would work better. And you're able to give them direct feedback. Just make sure if you do, there's a couple of things to note here. If you do that, you want to make sure you add as much detail as humanly possible to explain what it is that you're trying to say that needs to be improved or needs an upgrade or whatever it is that needs a fix. That way, when they go and look at it, they don't throw it out and say that, oh, well, I don't really know what this is, so I guess we got to skip it. The other thing is, and I forgot to look the thing up, but I think it's called, if you look online for Microsoft Customer Voice, and you get the person or people to vote on what you just submitted, Microsoft looks at those things as soon as they hit about 50 votes. So if you submit something and it's really good, other people may see it and they may vote it up, but you can also get those votes up by, advertising to your folks. Now let's go down this left side. This button here allows you to create things like Word documents, PowerPoints, lists that will go into SharePoint. There's different templates that you can start from, the different blank things that you can start from. If you have Visio, maybe a Visio drawing, Sway, things like that. My content is where your content lives. So if you're looking for something and for some reason you cannot find it, but you used it recently, you might want to go to my content and on the home page and then go to recently opened. And then you can see what you opened recently. Also, what was shared with you, which you may have favorited. You can browse by people or by meetings that you had. You can also look through different file locations like cloud files in OneDrive for Business or in SharePoint, local files through your desktop, and any attachments that will happen to be sent to you. You can also upload here any documents. And then when you go to the feed, this is where you can see things like people that you worked with, things that you've been working on, who's done what. You could stay on top of things here. You can get meeting insights. You can look at your network and you can get news from around your organization. And that news normally comes from like your SharePoint communication intranets. You can manage your network here. how many people you follow and how many people follows you. Right now, I'm not following anybody and no one's following me at my company, which is fine because they all see everything that we that I said anyway. And then here's the favorites thing that I favorite. Those favorites come out of your, so if you're like in Word and you go to the panel that shows you all the documents, and you could favorite it in that panel on the home screen under, like, say for example, Word, you can favorite things right there, and then they'll show up here. Apps shows you all the apps that you have available. They even have some categories. Now, again, depending on, okay, I'm gonna hit that. Depending on your license and what you have available to you, also what your system admin has set to be available to you in this tenant, you'll have, you know, different things available. So your set of available apps may not match my set of available apps, but you'll have things like, you know, you should have calendar and sway and forms and stream, because that is all included. Word, Teams, all of this up here, all included. Copilot, I'm not going to really go into Copilot. That is a separate license that you have to buy for it. But Copilot's really cool. It's Microsoft's AI. This Copilot that I have right here is Copilot for Microsoft 365, which helps me to build things in Office using AI technology, Microsoft's AI technology. And here's the admin center. Not going to go there either today, but this is where I can control the things inside of my tenant. I can buy new licenses, I can add users, I can remove users, I can go to the other admin centers and maybe configure compliance, things like that. All right, so now let's go back to the slides. All right, so some of the benefits of Office 365. It helps with their productivity, improve productivity so people can work remotely. But as well as people being able to work better together helps them work faster, work better, work smarter. Small businesses can save money using Office 365 because it has so many tools inside of it that allows you to save money on, say, for example, Teams is almost the same thing as Zoom. Actually, Teams is like Zoom meets Slack. So it gives you more capabilities where you can pay for one license and get all these capabilities instead of paying for separate things. Um, and nonprofits can get it for free, as well as 501c3 nonprofits, as well as educational institutions, or that discounted rate. There's the advanced security features. So if you're and compliance configurations. So if you're an organization that's in medicine and you have all these HIPAA regulations, that can be configured. If you're in government or a government contractor and you need NIST to be configured to make sure that you're following those compliance regulations, you also have that capability as well. And Microsoft Office 365 helps businesses comply with those industry standards, as I was just saying. Now, some like general use cases for Office 365, remote work, being able to work remotely. So people during COVID, a lot of people ran out and bought Office 365 just for this purpose, for their employees to be able to work from home very quickly. It was something they could stand up pretty quickly and then get to work. Using a lot of the Microsoft tools that they were already using, like Word and Excel and all of that stuff. So they were allowed to bring their employees to work, and Office 365 facilitated all that productivity. As I said before, small businesses can use it to save money on their infrastructure. So they have the same infrastructure, at least as far as collaboration and productivity, as the big guys. Big guys like, say, for example, Microsoft is eating its own, using Teams and SharePoint and all of that. Booz Allen Hamilton, big companies are using Office 365 and small businesses can too. Same things with nonprofits. And then there's the security and compliance features, as I was also telling you about, which can help against those security breaches, but also help you be compliant depending on the industry that you're in. Now we're going to start getting into the bits of Office 365, at least the general bits, the big pieces. One of those big pieces is your email, and that's called Exchange. That's the service behind it, Microsoft Exchange. A lot of people think of it as Outlook, but Outlook, basically, the service behind it is Exchange. Exchange is the thing that's feeding Outlook your contacts, your email, your tasks, things like that. That's the thing behind the system that's keeping track of all of that. And you have two abilities to actually access these things through Exchange, um, which is through the web app as well as through the desktop app. And again, depending on your subscription, you may have the Outlook desktop app, but you will definitely, no matter what subscription you have, as long as it includes Exchange, you will have the web app available to you. Another big piece is OneDrive for Business. Now, OneDrive for Business, not to be confused with OneDrive, because a lot of people confuse that. There's two OneDrives. There's OneDrive Personal and there's OneDrive for Business. And we'll discuss the comparisons on that in a little bit. But OneDrive for Business comes in the Office 365 suite, or you can buy it where it's kind of a standalone, but it's still a part of the Microsoft Office 365 suite. And it basically is your personal work files for the each individual employee. Now, when I say personal, there's still work behind that. Your personal work files, not your personal files, but your work files. This is where you can store the files where you may be working on them, but you're not ready for other people to collaborate with you, or you're not ready to share to others. But you can also collaborate from your OneDrive. You can share it to a few different people so they can work on the document with you, which is called co-authoring, another thing that's available in the Microsoft 365 suite. The ability for you to be able to get into a Word document or Excel and be able to work on it at the same time as your colleagues are working on it, so you can collaborate a little bit faster. So it gives you that ability to have your own place of your documents. Think of it as your S drive, your X drive, your H drive, whatever those drives were that they called, not the share drive, but your personal share drive. Think of it as that, for those of you that remember that that type of system. Now, some of the benefits of OneDrive for Business is it allows you to securely store your documents that are for work, but you can still share them within the organization pretty easily from there. You can connect and collaborate on those documents and work on them together, like I said, co-authoring. And it's especially useful for remote teams and employees so that they can work from anywhere, which is basically what the whole suite is about. Just a few examples. So OneDrive for Business, say for an accounting firm, they can use it to share financial statements with their clients, maybe have a portal for their client to come in and see those documents and sign things, and everything's secure and it's in one place that they don't have to email things back and forth. It's just right there. Healthcare, they can use it for sharing patient records back and forth between their care teams. So, the doctor might have those records in their specific OneDrive for Business or something that they're working on for that patient. And then when they're ready for other care teams to look at these things, they can share it from there. Law firms, they can use it to collaborate on legal documents and contracts that they may be working with, because a lot of law firms, they're big. They have a lot of different locations. Those folks are in different places, so they can use OneDrive for Business to share those documents. Next up, Microsoft Teams. So Microsoft Teams, as I kind of was alluding to earlier, it's like Zoom meets Slack, if you know what Slack is. It's a place where you can manage projects and things like that. It's based on Skype for Business or Skype technology, which Skype is still out, but Skype for Business is no longer out. It's now called Microsoft Teams. It gives you the ability to have chat, have online meetings. You can share files. You can schedule things. You can even have places where you're running projects and you're adding in apps like Planner to help you with managing the tasks. You're adding in, like, maybe it's a marketing project. and you all use Hootsuite for your social media marketing, there's an app that you can add into Teams for Hootsuite to allow you to use Teams directly in the platform without having to leave Teams. So there's third-party apps that can be added, as well as first-party Microsoft apps that can be added into those channels to help you with project and other types of planning and management. So some benefits, easier collaboration and communication amongst your teams in an organization, but also those that may be external to your organization, your vendors, your volunteers if you're a nonprofit, your students if you're a school, your clients if they, you're running a service business of some sort. There's centralized project management, as I said, and planning tools to be able to add those things in so that if you're planning the yearly, maybe the quarterly project quick kickoff for this project, or a project that happens every year, like say the annual company picnic or something like that. You can use these displaced in Teams to work on scheduling, work on the details, work on all the logistics, get your team on the same page, and then carry out your event. You can conduct your virtual meetings, also webinars, have training sessions like this. Even though we're using Zoom right now, I usually use Teams when we can have sharing sessions and record it and have virtual backgrounds just like I have back here as well. So a couple of industry use cases here. So manufacturing companies can use Teams to help improve the communication between the people that are in the office and the people that are out on the floor doing the actual manufacturing of things. Like say there is a stop work for some reason. There could be a message sent out from the office directly to those plant managers using Teams to let them know, hey, stop work right now. You can even put urgency on it. So it sends them an alert so it buzzes them every 2 minutes for 20 minutes until they pick it up. So you can even do that sort of thing to increase the ability for a person to see it in time. Educational institutions can use it for remote learning and have used it for remote learning during COVID. There was lots of virtual classes for adults as well as for children that Microsoft Teams was being used for, as well as for helping with planning for those classes. Healthcare providers can help coordinate with the care teams that might be in different parts of the hospital or in different hospitals. So they can communicate and coordinate on that patient's care without having to get into a meeting where they have to drive to it every time. They can save time as well. All right, now we're going to go into SharePoint. Now, SharePoint is a Microsoft technology that's been out for a long time. It's been used for intranets. So you can do things like setting up portals, places to share information with other people. You can manage documents. You can have like dashboards and communication hubs and like your CEO corner, things like that. It looks like the web, so you can build pages that looks like, basically a web page. Some of the benefits of SharePoint, as I said, it can be used as an intranet for internal communication. So communicating, vital messages as well as, morality messages, morale messages, I'm sorry, not morality, morale messaging, things that are coming up. Departments can share, like, for example, if it's the HR department and they have their own portal for the internal employees to come to, they can actually fill out documents, look at benefits information, things like that. Know that tax season is coming up because an announcement was posted, things like that. It also could be used for document management. It is the engine behind Teams. So Teams allows you to have files that will be related to the projects that you're working on, and those files are actually stored in SharePoint. But there's version controls and advanced searching features, as well as the storage and the ability to be able to share. And because SharePoint, the first part of the word is share, it is a place for you to share with most people, but it can be secured down to a specific group of people depending on what you're using that site for. You can also create custom workflows that automate business processes, but we use like another tool inside of SharePoint to do these things, as well as there's one built-in one that's still left in SharePoint that can be used as well for your business processes. So a few more industry examples here. Finance companies can use SharePoint to create those portals, as I was talking about, where they can share the data, or financial reports or things for the client to pick up right through this portal. Retail companies can use SharePoint to manage their inventory and their supply chains. They can also use it when it comes to communicating with their vendors, or their suppliers. Government agencies have and still use SharePoint because SharePoint, like I said, has been around for a long time to streamline internal communications and collaborate and work on projects together. All right, so those were the big chunks inside of Office 365. There's more there to be discussed, but those are the big pieces besides Microsoft Office. So now let's get into the mobile apps that you can get, as well as the special limitations that you should be aware of. So there's a bunch of different mobile apps you can get. This is not an exhaustive list of things that you can get. Of course, Word, Excel, all the Office apps, Teams, SharePoint, other apps like Power Apps, OneDrive, Power BI. There's a Power Automate app. So this is not an exhaustive list, but there are lots of apps inside the App Store for Microsoft Office 365. You just may have to get each thing in an app itself by itself. Now, some of the special limitations, the full list is at the link at the bottom, but a couple of things I want to point out. Invalid characters, make sure you don't use those characters or your document won't be able to be uploaded to the system. You can't use leading or trailing spaces in your files' names. Also, there's certain types of invalid file types that Office 365 will not accept, although your system admin may be able to go and get it to accept it behind the scenes. One of the biggest things I want to point out is the name, file name and paths lengths. Each file that you put inside the system ends up in a URL in the path. Because it's a web-based system, of course, everything has a URL at the top. If your file name is long and or has spaces in it, it could force the URL to go beyond the 400 character limit. If it does, your file may be uploaded. It may upload fine, but when you try to actually click on it and open it, it won't open. And that's because it went over the 400 character limit and now the file is broken. The same thing applies with folders. So if you do folders within folders within folders within folders, and you have all of them with long names and the file name is long, you're risking a breaking of your system as you upload your files there. So want to make sure that you're aware of that. There is a place for you to create a long name for each file, but we'll go over that when we go over SharePoint stuff in one of these sessions coming up. Okay. Now let's look at browsers. Now Office 365 or Microsoft 365 is a browser-based software. So it's based for the internet, where most people would be accessing it unless they're using like Office and things like that to bring it down to their desktop. So Office 365 works on all of your up-to-date browsers, but not all of them work best. So here's kind of a listing. Microsoft Edge, of course, the best one to use, all the features, all the functionality available. Microsoft Edge is a lot better than Internet Explorer, so please give it a try. But that is the best one to use when you're using Office 365 because it's Microsoft to Microsoft. Those things like Firefox and Safari have most of the features and functionality, but you may be missing a few bits. Now, Chrome. Google Chrome is what most people love to use. Now, I would say go ahead and use it for everything else, but don't use it for Office 365. And the reason why is because we even had this situation recently. Sometimes Google and Microsoft don't necessarily, get along. So one of them, especially Google, they make a change, but not really inform Microsoft's teams that change has been made. So when that happens, you're left, the one that's using Chrome, thinking that, oh crap, everything's broken. Why does it look like this? And it's because they made a change to the browser. They didn't allow Microsoft to know. They didn't give them prior notice, and now Microsoft has to play catch up. So instead of you being confused about what's going on, what's happened, and it was an actual browser issue, best to use Microsoft Edge. And I would also even say, especially if you're going to use Teams a lot, to set your default browser to be Microsoft Edge as well, because Teams uses the default browser to launch off. And we've had a situation where people were using Chrome as a default browser and they could not get into the Teams meeting because it would not launch. As soon as they moved it into their default browser to be Edge, then everything worked fine. All right. Going to get into a couple comparisons. So Office versus Office 365 or Microsoft 365. Lots of confusion here because of the similarities in name. And because Microsoft is now starting to say that Office is now Microsoft apps. So it may get even more confusing in the near future, as you've already seen on the home screen. But Office is your traditional desktop software of Word, PowerPoint, Excel, OneNote, Outlook, possibly others, depending on which level of license you have, or which level of Office you have. You could have more than those basic ones. So you could buy the version that's kind of a box version that doesn't change. It's like, you got 2016 Office. But Microsoft is phasing that out. So you may or may not be able to get that. You may have to get the evergreen subscription version of Office of Office, apologies. That would also come with OneDrive. So if you got that subscription, it also gives you OneDrive capabilities. So it could be a good deal. And you may also have the ability to download those things to your desktop, like Word, and have it on your desktop instead of using the browser version of Word. But each person gets that has that subscription will have the ability to cover 5 of their devices. So, if you have a computer, maybe 2 computers, maybe a tablet and a phone, that's 4 devices, all of them are covered. Now, people sometimes share their Office license. If you do, just note that if you do, everybody that shares that license with you, because you have 5 devices that it can hit, will see everything that you've been working on. So if you don't want other people to see what you've been working on, don't share your Office license with them, or they will be able to see it. So there's Office licensing for individual peoples as well as family. And of course, it comes in the business plans. Now, Microsoft Office 365, it includes Office, the Office apps especially, but it may also include the desktop version. But then you get all these other things with it that, as we had been talking about. So try not to get those two confused. And those are the difference. Now, this is the one I really don't want you to get confused on, because this one can be a problem if you do get it confused. OneDrive for Business versus OneDrive. So there's a personal OneDrive and a business OneDrive. The personal OneDrive, normally, I think it's the little white cloud, and the business OneDrive is a little blue cloud that would show up on your system tray. But either way, OneDrive for Business is for business. It's the business version of OneDrive. It only lives in the Microsoft 365 tenant type subscriptions. And OneDrive Personal is the one that comes with your Office 365 Personal or Office 365 Home or Student version, or comes with certain accounts like a Microsoft account, like Outlook comes with it, as well as Xbox accounts. Now, it's personal for your OneDrive one, and for OneDrive for Business, it's your personal business files. And when I say that, it's the files that you're working on personally for your work, for your business. Now, please do not put your personal files in your OneDrive for Business, because if any time the company decides to take your OneDrive back, also they can go into your OneDrive at any time as well, just so you know. Because it's, you know, it's part of the company, it's part of the company's assets. So people can look in it as well as if they automatically, if they are for some reason shut you down or shut you off, like you know, you lose your job or you move on to a different place and you forget to get your, you know, say for example, you put all your photos in there, those photos are gone. Unless the company is, you know, good enough to, you know, dig those things out and give them to you. They're gone. Put those in your personal OneDrive. And both things, they're separate products. They don't touch. They have separate syncs. There's the ability for you to use the sync button if you're in each product, and on the browser, there's on the action bar, there's a sync button that you can click, and that will bring that folder of items down onto your file explorer. So you'll have a little folder on your in your desktop. But please remember that do not use your OneDrive for Business for personal stuff. Keep your OneDrive for Business business related, your personal files that you're working on personally for work, but still work files. Okay, our recommendations. Whew, we got 8 minutes left, and I do want to make sure we get in questions. So make sure you visit if you have access to it anyway. Visit the admin center. Get to know your Office 365 system. If you don't have the access to the admin center, still get to know your Office 365 system. Go up to the waffle, click on it, see what apps you have available up there. Sync your OneDrive for Business to your computer so that you're able to, especially those of you that like working off your desktop a lot, if you sync it to your computer, then you're able to access those documents straight through your desktop. Same thing with your OneDrive Personal, but remember, do not use your OneDrive Personal for work files because you're running a risk. One, people can look in it from your organization, and two, you're running a risk of losing those things if you were ever to be separated from your organization all of a sudden. Also, when you're sharing things with teams of people, use SharePoint or Teams. And you may also want to sync those libraries that you go into most often. And we'll discuss that when we look at Teams and SharePoint on another date. For quicker access, you can sync those as well to your computer. Now, as I've said, come on, slides, don't act stupid now. I have useful references in the back of this deck, and just sliding those by so you can see. So you can get the deck there's a QR code on the last slide, but any questions? We have about 7 minutes left, and I want to make sure that if anybody has any questions, we're addressing them. Oh, also, if you have topics that you want us to talk about for the next coming sessions, please scan the QR code, fill out the form, let us know. Or put them in the chat. That will work as well. So I'm looking at the chat so far. I see that there was a question that was answered. Can there be a session focused on Microsoft 365 security? And yes, we can definitely have one of those sessions to talk about the different aspects of Microsoft 365 security, what the different products are there, and what those things do.
I have a question.
All right.
So what are your thoughts on the differences between purchasing Microsoft 365 directly from Microsoft or through a CSP, then getting it from a third party, for example, web hosting like like a GoDaddy? A lot of people get Microsoft 365 through those types of options. Do you see as sort of pros and cons?
Yeah. Yes, there are pros and cons. One, you could buy, as William's saying, you could buy Office 365 directly from Microsoft. Go to Microsoft's page and buy it directly from them. Two, you could buy Microsoft Office 365 through a partner such as NTC Tech, our company, where you, as a CSP, cloud service or solutions provider, this one's kind of like the service provider. But anyway, we can sell licenses from Microsoft to you, as well as giving you the services and support that you need. Now you could get it from another type of partner because they are partners as well. GoDaddy, the web hosts, they are partners as well. What we've found is that they don't have they don't have the industry expertise in the platform that customers are looking for. So we've had a couple of customers that had GoDaddy. One of them had Yahoo, or so I forgot what it was, but it was like not Yahoo, it was some other provider. Their problem was when they went to go get help, they couldn't help them. They knew the basics, but they couldn't give them consulting. They could not strategize with them. They don't build things for the most part unless things have changed or that particular provider provides those things. And normally their help desk is very basic. They can't answer those deep questions that some people have. So um, they can be great to bundle things, but I would highly suggest going through a partner as opposed to going through that type of provider.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions?
So at the risk of monopolizing, I do have some, additional comments that I've seen with that particular challenge, primarily with GoDaddy. Because GoDaddy attempts to simplify the process in you being able to provision accounts.
Mm-hmm.
They take away your access from the directly to the Microsoft admin panel. So yes,
Wow. Yeah.
with quite a few clients that we had to, defederate them from GoDaddy in order to get full access to be able to configure those settings that you reference for, compliance purposes.
Yep.
So that's another.
Yep. And
But I think
yeah,
Alan
thanks for bringing that up.
had a
Mhm.
question.
I'm sorry. I was just saying, thanks for bringing that up. What you say at the end of that, William?
I think Alan had his hand up, I think.
Oh, okay. Got a question, Alan?
Um, can you hear me? Hold on,
Yes.
I gotta turn off my sound here. Um, yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
For some reason, I can't turn on my camera at all. I can't use chat. It says it's disabled. So
Hmm.
I don't know what I did wrong here, but um,
Okay.
I don't really use Microsoft 365, but it's really good to learn about, and I appreciate your this session. I want to figure out how to actually either get rid of OneDrive or make sure it's not the default for anything. Because, like, for example, I use GitHub. I'm a developer, and for some reason, GitHub has put up my whole deposit repository in OneDrive, and it's taking up all my OneDrive space. I don't know, I've overused the space. Can you tell me? I didn't. I never gave it permission, or it never asked me whether to put things in OneDrive. So, can you tell me anything I can do about that?
Yeah, that one we would have to look into, but Microsoft owns GitHub, so that's how it ended up there because Microsoft owns it. So of course they're going to use their whole, the things that's in their stack to help you along. Now there are ways to back certain things out of your OneDrive, but we'd have to look at that. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that in action, but I know there's
Okay,
ways for
I
you to
may have
back up
to.
out of there.
I may have to just look at OneDrive at GitHub and see. There's probably some instructions there for moving the repository, but I'm just not sure how it ended up there.
Yeah, it probably just ended up there because again, it was Microsoft, and Microsoft likes to use their stuff, so they will put it straight into whatever it is their stuff is.
Force integration. Microsoft
Yes.
is good at
I've
that.
seen that. Okay, well, appreciate it. I'll try next session. Maybe I'll be able to turn my camera on and get more involved.
That might be
Thank
the
you.
issue on our end, Alan, but it will be resolved by next month.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Anybody else? Oh, we're at
We're at
time,
time.
but we do have like another minute or two if anybody else has a question. And while you're thinking of that, there's plenty of QR codes on the slide for you to get to know us, schedule a meeting, get the slides if you like. Also, let us know what topics that you want to hear about that are Office 365 or Microsoft 365 or related technology to those things. We would love to hear.
Yeah, this was great. Thank you so very much. I have a whole list of topics that we can talk about offline, things that I personally am interested in, more about sort of the security of Office 365, being able to use SharePoint more efficiently. I mean, I think that there's a lot of room here, at least for my personal benefit, but I'm willing to share this space.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even your personal benefit with you sharing or, talking about the things or thinking about the things that you want to talk about.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's others that are going to be like, oh, yeah, I should probably learn about that too. Shoot. Why didn't I ask that question? So great. We appreciate all topic ideas because we want to make sure that this community is going to be fruitful, beneficial to all of you so that you understand what you're getting. Stop using, that basic 20% of Office 365 that most people are using.
Yeah.
Use all of it and get 154% or more on your return of investment. So we want to make sure that you're happy with that and you're getting productive and having those happy employees.
Excellent. So Nakia, thanks again to you and Harry for leading the charge here. Thanks to all of our attendees. We hope to see you again in a month. We will get the recording for this posted in the group as well as the QR codes for follow-up, for one-on-one sessions, to get the slides, etc. We'll make sure that all these get posted in the group. So any closing thoughts from either of you?
For me, just happy to be here. I'm glad you all have joined us, and we look forward to seeing you next month. How about you, Harry?
Ditto.
A man of few words, but profoundly said. All right, team. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.